The end of Path of Exile is where the game actually begins. Literally, there is so much more after beating the main campaign than this game really lets on. Honestly, I didn't realize the massive scope of Path of Exile until after the story was finished. The customization, the creativity, the build, the loot, of course, all culminates in such a way that I don't think I ever would have known if I didn't log in for that first time. The final chapter of my blind playthrough of Path of Exile begins now. So being here at the finale of the Path of Exile story, we are back in Oriath, the place where we release the literal devouring god to gobble up everyone and everything, all the while summoning his flying terror demons to snatch up some people.
We're sorry.
Same idea, we grab some quests and here we go. The first one is to free Bannon from his captivity. If you remember, Bannon is the guy who became the next vessel for Innocence. You know, the pretty boy who was like spoiled and glowing, the Boy Scout to Sin's emo love song. Well, Bannon is saved, but he needs to free Innocence, and apparently the way that you do it is by getting the Staff of Purity and then unaliving the host. Good night, sweet prince. We hardly knew you. Literally, we barely knew him. Well, we get through all the damnable hell that is now the courtyard and the cathedral, but ironically, where Katava was standing on the cathedral rooftop, it appears that there's no exit hole. Like, does this mean that he climbed up, out, and over? Or what the hell is this cathedral made of? It's just impressive. Anyway, one of the quests that we are tasked to complete is from Waylem Raw, the boat captain. He wants us to get Elixir of Allure from the ossuary. Do you know why? He's trying to get laid by this lady here at the docks. I'm literally fighting a devouring god, and he's just trying to get his salt spray on. Understandable, I'll get it for you, buddy. Don't worry. As I've gotten into the last two acts, I've focused more on ignites with Infernal Blow, upping my fire damage here, but as I am now fighting on the cathedral rooftop, I get a unique drop. It's a one-handed mace, and it is an absolute DPS blaster. A full-on 40% damage increase from where I was. Look how good this thing is, and unironically, too, it looks like the crab hammer from the Brine King, which is kind of funny. Even without the gems, it's honestly fantastic. With my talent points, I'm switching to more of a focus of elemental damage, and of course with Ignite. So my target here is Divine Judgment, which will give me a flat 50% increase to just elemental damage. I'm looking to use some of the Orbs of Regret that I've gathered over time to reframe my build a bit to focus more on the Ignite damage. So elemental damage, amongst other things, damage over time multipliers and such, are going to be at my top priority. I also find that I'm swapping my build more and more, like the gems are changing literally like every 10 to 20 minutes to better suit it. The playstyle that I'm getting into focuses more on these ignites and we'll say multiple hits, so let's see how well we can build this before we plateau. I find a couple of incursions, and I will admit I'm doing a hell of a lot better with these. I'm lasting a lot longer each time that I enter one of these zones. If I had a build that was probably on par with other endgame builds, I think that I wouldn't be able to stay in there for a minute or so, but for my build to be able to cruise through here and last at least 20-30 seconds, I'm happy. I am in the courtyard now, looking for the Staff of Purity as well as a handful of other items from the various townfolks. Well, I grab a teardrop and head back to the square where I take an absolute horde of enemies spawned out of the abyss and a bunch of Ampian mobs all at once. And despite me being a bit behind with damage output, I am still in fact right where I need to be. Decent damage, tanking a lot better than most, but hanging in there. Into the ossuary where we find the final Lord's Labyrinth trial, and of course the love potion that our dead ghost captain Soft Mask needs. As I'm crashing through, I find a Mortonomicon for Divinia at the docks. That's a clever name, isn't it? I'll have to check this out later. Well, we go to the docks, and unfortunately, despite the love potion, Waylem still suffers from soft sales because, well, guess what? The love potion fizzled out. Guess someone's got to try more foreplay. I talked to Divinia, and it seems that there's another league mechanic built around this called the Sanctum, where you get a few relics and some books, and it opens up a new minigame that requires a very certain build, but apparently, I open up the Sanctum and then just straight up dip, never actually doing the damn thing. I'm so bad at this game. Well, I still crash through the courtyard to find the Staff of Purity, which basically I have to go back to where I fought Innocence in the High Templar, but the problem is I have to go visit the Templar Hall again. Actually, this really isn't a problem for my Scottish boy, but I get to go through and re-wreck this entire building again. Like, it's still trashed after me blasting through it the first time, and here I come again. They were probably like, oh, damn, this sucks. All our people are dead and our temple is ruined.
Here we go!
We enter the Chamber of Innocence, which isn't so innocent anymore. I mean, look at the blood stain on the floor, on top of the dead bodies, just saying. Oh, and look at our Templar buddy, reassembled. Like, does anyone notice that his head is actually a lion? Like, I guess we bashed him in so bad that they couldn't reattach it. And they're like, well, shit, what are we gonna do for him? Hey, Chief, this is completely unrelated, but there's a zoo nearby. What should we do with the animals? Oh, by the way, he's got wooden peg legs. They just threw him together with whatever they had nearby and said, F it, he's fine. Well, this fight progresses actually similar to how the first fight went, but damn, things do hurt here. These red death beams absolutely cook me and take up like half of the damn screen. Woof. It's a ton of blood and bleeding damage as well. Everything hurts so damn bad. He's also summoning his constructs that chase me down to swing at me while I'm running away, but I nearly get like a full one slap and nearly die from that. Well, after some dancing, we get our staff and kill our reassembled boss again. Now they're gonna have to like use a giraffe or something. Bannon gets the staff and takes one for the team by summoning Innocence, which literally he just gets popped. And here's the golden boy again. What a pain in the ass. I like Bannon too. Also, folks, this is what happens to you when you accept coffee in your life and like and subscribe. I don't know if that's accurate. Well, I have to head back to the control blocks to kill Vienta, who was one of the supporting characters from Act 5, but now is evil and must be purged. Like, I've said this a bunch of times, but stop making me kill my old friends grinding gears, jeez. Well, I find her and apparently she's become corrupt. She got too close to the hungry boy and now she's like some weird quill demon thing, I don't know. She throws a whole bunch of grenades on the ground and laser beams throughout the arena, but apparently this is all heavy-hitting stuff. I just straight up eat most of it. The bombing runs, the grenades, an easy boss boop, and here we go. It is time to end Kitava. Innocence uses Solar Beam after waiting one turn to crack open the canals, which is basically ruined because of, well, demons. Then the Templar drops this sick line. Listen to this beauty.
Find the path of righteousness once more, my Lord of Light. I shall be honored to fight by your side.
Ooh. That is just awesome. Fool in me runs into the Wildwoods, and I'm beating down some of these enemies, and apparently I leave the Nameless Seer, which apparently gives you a free unique item. I find him, and I just straight up run away, and chat has an aneurysm. This was hilarious after the fact, actually. I come out to deal with this absolute tank of a rare mob who's both wild and primal empowered, and resistant to fire damage. This is just a straight up wet noodle fight. He takes a long while to go down, but eventually we get him, and some of chat reminds me that I should do the third labyrinth before I fight Kitava again. Well, Kitava is gonna give me the extra elemental reduction after I defeat him, so it should be done now, but mama ain't raised no bee. We're taking this on, and then we're gonna go deal with the lab. Chat starts taking bets how many times I'm gonna die in this fight. Everyone says 3 to 7 to 10, multiple deaths, but I'm here to make sure that I don't die a single time. I get to the entrance of Kitava, and our boys Sinan and Innocence are here to chit-chat, talk about what we need to do. Well, it's time. Let's go deal with this overgrown bee and take down the final boss of this game.
Why did you throw me gloves? To catch these hands!
Starting off, Kitava's initial damage with his melee swings aren't all that bad, or not even his red face beam, but it is his fire breath that absolutely wrecks me. Literally, I melt faster than I can heal. Luckily, I have a couple of flasks that keep me up just for the meantime. I get him down to about 75%, he pops out his heart, and now I get to beat it down. He scoops up his heart again and just straight up snatches Sin. And I thought he ate him. I was yelling. I was like, oh my god, he ate my boy. Well, standing here, I nearly get fried because of the fire damage, which is an absolute melter. It's just, it's so much. I can only imagine if you didn't have max fire resistance. I take some damage from his other orb abilities, but it really isn't nearly as bad as his flame breath. Well, out comes his heart again, and these ads are actually wrecking my face, literally doing tons of damage. Holy crap. I'm DPSing his heart, and then he sucks it back in and snatches up Innocence. He does his big face beam and gives me a chance to free Innocence. Now we're down to the last 30%, and he incinerates the entirety of the platform. Tons and tons of fire damage everywhere. Luckily, I have the flasks to keep me up and I dodge out of the way, but after a couple more blasts, out comes his heart for the final time, and now the ads are wrecking my face. This champion of the feast is nearly one-shotting me. I clear out some of the ads and have them explode on the heart to pass on the ignite damage. And after some more dancing and dodging and shield charging, here we go. Pog in the chat for a one-shot on Kitava for the first time. Ayy! And there goes another 30 resistance. Now the tutorial is complete. In my first playthrough through the Affliction Leagues, I actually only died 10 times trying Path of Exile as a newbie. Not bad, but it's not over yet. Back at the docks, I talk to everyone who gives me the thumbs up for beating the hungry boy, but what's interesting is that Innocent isn't innocent. He needs time to contemplate for the millions that he's murdered by taking a vacation down south, probably somewhere on a beach. The Roths are generally displeased, but when are they ever happy? But they also want to take me to the Korai shores, and this is where the game truly begins. After hearing everyone say that maps are the true endgame of Path of Exile, I needed to see what this was all about. Many of them are tougher, more challenging than any boss mobs that I have faced thus far. But I need to blast out a map or two before I go anywhere else. I need to see what this is like. Maps are randomly generated areas that have mixed mobs and such, but offer a way to progress after finishing the main campaign. They tend to be more difficult and scale faster, but I ain't no bee, so into the first one we go. The Glacier map. Well, they weren't kidding, because everything hurts here. Like, I'm getting chunked super duper fast. I progress through here and I find a ritual, and of course it's chaos damage. Literally the one thing I have no resistance to. I'm sitting at like -50 resistance. Ugh. I finish the ritual, which allows me to be able to pick up a unique item depending on the amount of rituals that I do, which is pretty cool. I find a couple 6-socketed items, but they're not linked, so and into the glacier we go. I enter in here and there's a trial master, which is an ultimatum, which basically traps you in a ring and forces us to handicap ourselves for a roll at better loot. Well, I run around smashing these mobs as a fart cloud chases me the entire time. I can finish this now and progress further, or I can just take the loot and go. But I want to make it more challenging. I don't want to see how much I can handle. Well, as soon as I start it, I get cooked instantly. So it seems that I can only do the first one. And it seems that I can only die a total of 6 times within any given map. So now I know where my upper limits are. Now that I failed the ultimatum, I don't get to do it again. I find another ritual and pop through that one, but then I find a third one and get absolutely wrecked. Again, chaos damage, just, it's so much. I gotta get some resistance. I finish the ritual and grab the sanctified flask, and now I get another abyss event. Amongst all the other mechanics and the mobs in this place is just me kiting. I'm running away all the damn time. That's all I'm doing. I just run away. Well, I get to the final boss area, and apparently it's Rektar the Breaker, who is actually super easy because all he does is just hop around and then gets tired. Not really challenging, but I imagine the damage would one-shot other squishier players, or if I didn't have as much defense. I get to take a look at the Atlas skill tree, and holy hell, look at this thing. Yo dog, I heard you like passive trees, so I got some passive trees for your passive tree. Good God, this is an interesting mess though, because it seems like I can add more things into the maps and customize everything about them as I go through. This is such a damn cool feature because the end game isn't random. You can kind of make it into what you want it to be. The next map is the Flooded Mine, and I hit a delirium, and I will admit this run, I am absolutely wrecking everything, just crashing through everything, taking far less damage than what I was in that previous map, but moving a heck of a lot faster, and it's pretty awesome. I bash through most of the map with little issue, and then I find the boss and kill him accidentally. Map complete. I take a look at the Atlas, and I knew immediately that I needed to be able to summon my boy Einhar. Yeah, buddy, he needs to come back in here with his Beastie Boys. Well, there are some extra map effects that apparently I missed, and chat reminded me, so I hop back in to go kill some more mobs, and I get 2 items that drop. 6 link chess pieces, which is apparently some of the best gear in the game ever. Like, 2 maps in, and I get some of the best gear in game. Chat loses its mind, people rage quit the game, leave the server, uninstall. I looked up how rare this item drop was, and apparently it's a 0.0002% chance. People play hundreds of hours and never get this lucky. I got it on my second map. This is nice. Well, I wasn't quite done. I 6-linked the Infernal Blow into my chest piece, and now we are thumping, averaging 14k damage hits with like 15 to 20,000 for my ignites. Oh, it's go time. I start working on some of the other maps and run into this guy, which is apparently a rogue exile, which is interesting because he actually kind of behaves similar to a real player. And he just straight up roasts me. No hesitation, lightning damage. I feel like I die so quickly too. This happens a couple of times and I'm furious now. I cheese him with shield charge and ignite and then just running away, but because to hell with this dude, that's why. Well, I enter into a Val room here and die again, but I don't teleport out. I just teleport out to the Val room, so I'm now starting to see why this is so difficult, and I'm understanding why things hit so damn hard and why some players would suggest that I need a build. I get some more gems progressing through this map, no problem actually. I beat this boss and kind of make it a point to try to clear out all the mobs here because they could have some very good loot if I'm paying attention. Why not see what I can get since I'm already here? I see that I also still have the Lord's Labyrinth available, which means I can finally get Pious Path. Oh boy, here we go. I have never died in the Labyrinth yet before, but I didn't expect this lightning mob to nearly one-shot me. Luckily, it was only at the beginning and not all the way through the end, but this is stressful now because I can't die in any of my attempts. I have to one-shot it, which is scary because Azaro, if I remember, trucked me in the previous labyrinth. Well, I dashed through to fight him, and sure enough, he absolutely is pushing my face in. Like, legit, he nearly one-shots me as I'm going through this arena. Luckily, I used the same strat as I did last time. I ignite everything and run away like the little bee I am. A couple more boops later, now I fight him again. This absolute beast comes out. I see that he has these conduits which seem to empower him, and I should probably deactivate to keep him from having any extra massive advantages, but I can't deal with him being any stronger. Well, I'm running around turning them off while also stacking ignites on him, and somehow I kill him and get another level. And this time I also got the 50% increase to elemental damage, but I am now kind of curious of where I should allocate. I get some extra armor and elemental resistance, but honestly I'm probably going to have to regret most of these, as I'm starting to see I can't tank as well as I used to. And I need to be able to pop enemies before they pop me, really. Well, I get to the final encounter with this overgrown statue, and here we go. We got some traps moving around on the floor, spikes shooting from the wall. Oh boy, it is game time. Well, I do my best to kite dodge and ignite while running away because he can absolutely roast me if I'm not careful. I land some blows, but then run away only to realize that I did not add Infernal Blow to my skill bar. I am so bad at this game. Well, after some kiting and fighting, we get Exile down, and it really wasn't as bad this time. I get to the Divine Font, and I try to transform my Infernal Blow gem, but I didn't read the text appropriately, and it transforms it into another red gem that doesn't actually do any good for me because it removes Infernal Blow. So I wasted that. Now I'm able to get Pious Path, which is cool because it keeps the regen buff for up to 4 seconds after I'm stopping and then moving again. So essentially it's 100% uptime. I get to some superior maps after crashing through a few more lower ones, and I decide to try my luck on a tier 4, which I'm thinking is going to be super difficult. Well, guess what? It kind of was. Tier 4 Cemetery with my flame ability and spectral shield throw build. Here we go. Initially not as bad. I'm taking the tons of damage, but I'm also able to keep my health up thanks to the Pious Path regeneration. I got a couple of items that give me some extra energy shield, which of course Pious Path also regenerates the health as shield, so it's not as bad. Legit, these ranged mob those are wrecking my face. This is a bullet hell. Everything on my health bar is just depleting. I run into this group of skeletons and it's just 1,000 bullets. I get gunned down. Good gracious, how is anyone supposed to survive here? Well, after coming back, I smartly use flammability and then spectral shield throw, which allows me to stay at a safe distance while also igniting and burning enemies, which is a lot better than what I was doing. I do notice that even though I'm taking damage, I seem to be getting like stunned every couple of seconds. I stop my animation, I stop my action, and that's causing me to get caught, which is, again, probably going to be a bit of my own problems down the road. Well, I get slowed and then roasted again, and after a lot more cautious play and heavily more amounts of kiting, I kill most of the mobs on this map without issue. But I am starting to see the foundations of my build fall away, and why melee may not be as strong as I once thought it. Funny enough, I get into the boss arena and take him out, no issue, one shot. So that's kind of ironic. Well, I think now is as good a time as any to talk about the final act. So Act 10 really wrapped up the story well for me. It absolutely was a climactic finish that I was looking for, and without it being too really drawn out, you know? The last act was fairly simple, quick to get through, and I absolutely loved it. We knew who we were going to fight, and we just went and did it. The story of gathering innocence back from Banon and Sin's reconnection with him was actually a good juxtapose of the normal light boy good, dark angel bad kind of thing. I love the fact that as soon as he came back, he began apologizing to Sin for all the evil that he's done and vowing to make it right. Now, the other side stories leading up to this made less of an impact on me when compared to the final dance with Kitava. Despite me not finishing the Lord's Labyrinth for the 3rd time, I was still able to take on the Big Bad and one-shot him, which was honestly a damn good feeling. Now, interestingly enough, I had been building my character in a way, my way, and doing a focus on my own build path, which is unique, and I had a lot of fun with it, but I'm starting to see why a crap load of damage is being taken and I have no answer for it, and why I should be focusing on front-loading all of my damage and focusing less on survivability. Now, having said that, I loved eating tons of damage and not being affected by most things, which was pretty awesome. But after Act 10, getting into some of the maps, it was rough. However, I will say the maps were very, very fun, and I see now why players say that this is the true endgame of Path of Exile. The capabilities of scaling it further and challenging yourself more with these randomly generated maps is such a damn good time. I only played for a few hours on these maps and was having an amazing experience. I loved it. Now, for sure, I know that my build got me to where I needed to in the story, but right now my build isn't going to work anymore, and it's barely working now. I can no longer be the face tanky, reflect damage Templar. I need to find a better way forward to deal damage and honestly stay away from mobs. Movement and damage are king versus tanky and survivability. I believe this will need to be worked out, and maybe I'll see if I'll follow a build guide now that I understand the game. But for now, I have loved what Path of Exile has done for a free-to-play game. It has been an absolute amazing experience. If you want to see the live stream where I killed Kitava and got my 6th link on my second map, check this video out here. Otherwise, stay caffeinated, folks.